Welcome to the Wadcast podcast. I am your host, Eddie Ift. Each and every week, I bring you a podcast based on health, fitness, strength, conditioning, exercise, working out, being elite, CrossFit, and being just all around healthy. And that's why today I have a very special guest who is here to talk to you all about, look, it's what's on everybody's mind. It's hard not to talk about it, but we're going to talk about COVID, or the Rona, as the hipsters are calling it. Dr. Drew, who you might know from television, Dr. Drew Pinsky, an old friend of mine. I've known Dr. Drew for years now, like a really long time. And he's one of the smartest, nicest, most genuine people I've ever met, who people don't know this, but he used to do Loveline. The way he started doing Loveline was he just volunteered to do it, to give people advice. And it's just part of his nature to be benevolent and go out there and help people out. And so I thought he'd be a really good person to come on here. And don't know where everyone's getting their news, but there's a lot of hysteria out there. There's a lot of misinformation, and it's a serious time and serious problem. And so I thought maybe we could sift through some of that. And he answered a lot of your questions that you guys put on Facebook and Instagram. I appreciate you guys writing those in. And I tried to get as many of them answered as possible. He's a busy guy. He's doing a lot of media. So it was really great of him to take the time and come on the show and do this. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope it answers a lot of your questions. And again, never take what I say too seriously, because I'm an idiot. I ask a lot of questions as the average guy, but I don't want anybody to think I'm an expert by any means on anything. I could tell you about comedy, probably. I'm pretty opinionated about that. That's it. But so great show today. Lots going on, and we recorded it yesterday, actually. So stuff's probably changed since then. I'm going to try to move forward from this and try to stay off this as much as possible, this topic, and unless things change. Hopefully they do change for the better, but I want to get back more into, what are you doing? What are you working out? How are you exercising? What can you do right now to stay healthy, to stay better? And so that's, coming up. I'm going to have some great guests because I'm doing them all via Skype. So I have access to everybody all of a sudden. And, as they keep saying, these are unprecedented times, which I hate when people say, but whatever, you make the best of it. And I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to stay as healthy as possible, work out as much as possible, kick Hunter McIntyre's ass and Murph come Memorial Day, even if we're not together doing it. But so it's weird. We're as much as it's hard to get groceries and stuff, we're eating really healthy. And we order our meat, we order from a farm, our food. So when people talk about, I can't get this or I can't get that, well, maybe you shouldn't be eating that shit that's in grocery stores. Like in the middle aisles. Start eating from the farms. And if you can't get that, there's another thing I've been doing to give my wife a break. My wife's cooking and cleaning and taking care of a whole family here. And so I have started eating Eat the 80. And we've gone through a lot of meal service plans here at the Wadcast. Everybody wants to advertise here. Everybody wants us to try them. There have been some really good ones. I am not exaggerating when I tell you this is by far the best tasting. Unbelievable. And it's not one like Blue Apron that you have to make yourself. This comes pre-made. It's in a package. It's got like plastic wrapped, and you can either put it in the microwave or you can cook it on the stove. I usually prefer to cook on the stove, but I'm in a hurry, so I always do the microwave. And I always think, it's going to be terrible. It's going to come out all sloppy out of the microwave. It still tastes great. Amazing. Unbelievable. And it's the compliment they get. So whoever their chef is there, I don't know who your chef is, Eat the 80, but your chef is phenomenal. Their menu is 100% gluten-free. It's all just really healthy stuff. They offer Whole30 options, vegan options, keto options, macro balanced options. It takes 2.5 to 3 minutes to heat up in the microwave, and all their proteins ethically sourced, and their kitchen is super hygienically regulated at the local level, the state level, the federal level, and they're going beyond safety standards because of COVID. Everything's vacuum sealed for freshness. The staff use protective equipment when boxing, shipping meals, and you can have your own protocol at home when you get these things, and then you just throw them in the freezer, and then you have them, or refrigerator, and then you have them when you're ready. They come in a cooled box, and they've got a partner program for trainers and other gym owners, and trainers get their clients to purchase subscriptions. The trainer can get credit. So a lot of you guys out there, the trainers, this is something, your clients are always complaining, I don't have time to cook or to eat healthy and cook and meal prep and blah, blah, blah. Usually, if you've got a client that can pay for a trainer, they can pay for food like this. And it's good. It's a really, really good food. I mean, the best. Your clients are going to thank you. So, you want to get them on that. You get a 10% reward. Okay. So you just need to contact Eat the 80 at info@eatthE80.com. That's info@eatthE80.com. I'm talking more than I should about this company. That's how good it is. The meatloaf was unbelievable. The scramble, the breakfast scramble I had with eggs and cheese, and it was just the best thing I've ever had. It was an incredible breakfast. The chili, I didn't think I was going to like the chili because I don't like mushrooms. I loved the chili. I actually put it over white rice, and I really liked the chili. What was the best thing, Lauren? The shredded pork was incredible with the sweet potatoes. I don't know how they make their sweet potatoes, but I want the recipe. And and the beef stew. The beef stew, I would say that was my favorite by far. The beef stew. My daughter stole it all out of my bowl, though, as I was eating it. So try them all. Check out their menu. Go on there. It's eat EEATTHE 80, the number 80, eatthE80.com. And if you want to get the 10% reward, go to info@eatthE80.com. They've set up a special coupon code. This is very, very important. WAD40, okay? And you're going to get $20 off your first two, that's total $40. So WAD40 for your first two orders, okay? And just trust me on this one. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you're going to say it's the best tasting pre-prepared meals that you've ever had. Eat the 80 with the 80 and use that code WAD40. You're going to get $40 off. And please tell me how much you loved it and thank me for it. And other than that, thanks for supporting the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all the contributions you guys give on Instagram and Facebook, and watching my live shows that I do at night, my comedy show that I do from my house, because that's now what I do. And thanks for the people that go to there's people out there that are going to Patreon. You're donating, and you give $5 to Patreon, and it helps out the show. It really does. We're, this show, look, we're not building a mansion on this, and we all know everybody's having a tough time. So if there's better places for you to go give your money, please do it, because I know there are. Your local box needs money, needs support, needs whatever, needs your membership money. Do that. Do whatever you can to help out people in need. But if you do want to support the show, we give you something back. Myopucks and Leopard Claw are nice enough to send you one if you win. And, we pick a new winner every week. You have to give at least $5 to the Patreon, which is patreon.com/WodcastPodcast or WodcastPodcast.com/Patreon. But I just want to thank Brett Markwart. I think that's your name, Brett. You have just become the winner of a Myopucks and a Leopard Claw. So Myopucks is an electronic muscle stimulator, and a Leopard Claw is a multi-tool that's set up to scrape your elbow, because that's what I just did to mine. Anywhere you've got an adhesion, you use it as a scraper. It's like a gua sha. You can Google that and watch people use them and how they use them. You spray some foam on there and scrape this stuff out and get rid of all the adhesions, get the blood flowing back in there, and then you can actually pump it out too by using the Myopucks. Really good stuff. Really good for rehab. Really good time to get this. So Brett Markwart, thanks for the donation. Thanks for supporting the show, and we're going to keep doing it. And I hope you enjoy this episode very much. Oh, Brett, send us a message. Send us an email, and we'll take care of you. That email is wadcastpodcast@yahoo.com. If you guys need anything, let us know. And please enjoy this episode with Dr. Drew Pinsky. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wadcast Podcast, a very special episode today with one of my favorite people in the entire world.
Wow.
Yeah, you know it. I always say
who knew?
That. Yeah.
Crazy.
You and that's Dr. Drew, everybody, Dr. Drew Pinsky, and you were one of my ex-girlfriends. Every time I have you on, she's like, I have a crush on that man.
And her number?
Yeah.
What's her number again?
I don't think your wife will like this. She did tell me she has sex dreams about you. Yeah,
it's crazy.
No one tells me
That's
that.
So funny.
I never get that.
I'm sure you do.
Not anymore. No, I used to meet a lot of girls when I was single, and I was like, wow, I got like a lot of girls that are into me. And then when I started dating my wife and got like serious, I realized it was all me. Like I was completely pursuing all those women. Because as soon as I stopped,
it's really funny.
It ended. Like it ended.
That makes perfect sense.
Cold turkey. Like it was
that's good. That's all right.
Day 2, not a phone call returned.
Eddie Ift, the closer. I didn't know.
No, Eddie Ift, the persistent pursuer.
Oh, okay, all right. The stalker. I know. I was being nice.
That was more. So about 2 weeks ago, sitting in the seat I am was Mike Catherwood. And that was like right before the lockdown.
Oh, boy.
And it's so funny. We didn't talk about this at all, about what's going on. And we just talked about lifting weights and doing steroids and getting swole. And now here we are.
He knows a lot about it, by the way.
He's amazing.
But what's he going to do with the gold shutdown? My God. His body dysmorphia is going to go insane. Right?
He really is obsessed. I mean, and his body is perfect. I know. He is like the poster person for like, all right, I did it perfectly. Right.
And then at one point he was uber perfect. He'd actually competed as a bodybuilder and took lots of steroids and things. And
that was still the creepiest sport in the whole world.
Yeah, pretty much.
Putting the fake tan on and the bikini and the...
Yeah.
Not
for you, huh?
No, CrossFit's almost as bad.
His thing was it was going to help him with his eating disorder and his body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
He was going to sort of lean into it. Turned out to make everything worse.
That's what I would have thought. Yeah. Because I think that whole sport is pretty much body dysmorphia.
Pretty much.
It's like a version of anorexia, right?
It's a lot of things, and it's different things for different people. It's kind of addiction, right? They get high from it. They get high from how they look. There's sex addiction mixed in there nicely. And there can be some body dysmorphia. And how about when they let it go? If they let it go, they can never be perfect like that again, and that drives them crazy.
Is that, from every time I've done Loveline with you, I noticed that like when someone goes down a line of some kind of mental issue or situation that they have, it usually starts with some kind of violence in childhood or something.
Yeah. We call it trauma. Yeah. The French call it violence in childhood, interestingly. And it affects the trajectory of our neurodevelopment. It changes our internal systems, and you can kind of predict how that's going to turn out in the behaviors later. You can see it, you can see the signs of it later and predict what had happened pretty easily.
Is exercise addiction anything like that?
It can be. I mean, exercise, the exercise addiction has lots of different sort of versions. There's people that get high from exercising, right? that's usually sort of the more extreme athletes. There are people that have exercise bulimia, so they binge on food and then excessively exercise as a way of trying to compensate for that. And there is a certain, I've noticed kind of an OCD quality with a lot of people that are into training. Mm-hmm. It's certainly not for the people that are, lazy, right? I've noticed the people, they often get a lot done in their lives. They're often very driven, but they're often very fastidious and OCD-like often too. So it's not addiction in the sense that it has progressive consequences, not unless you're throwing drugs into the mix like steroids.
What about the people that talk about exercising constantly but only do it like 3 times a week like me?
And then do a podcast on it and obsess on it. That's an interesting group, but it's not an addiction.
I mean, I have a plan. I have a plan to work out every single day. I mean, it's fully structured.
Am I seeing snow behind you and over your shoulder?
No, that would be that's a whole that could be a whole podcast. What's going on there?
Behind you?
My neighbor put a tent over her pool.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, the neighborhood loves it.
Oh.
Looks like she's having a wedding every day.
Hey, how are you getting through this quarantine? What are you doing?
To be honest, and I'm glad my wife's not here right now. She's out taking a walk with the kids. I am enjoying the hell out of it because I'm always on the road.
I've heard a lot of comedians are saying that. A lot of comedians are saying that because it forced them to stay home, forced them to slow down.
Yeah,
and they're saying, I kind of dig this.
Spending time with my children that I never got, and it's such a good time. I've got a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old, and so I'm watching. I was there to watch them crawl. I was there. It's
nice.
It's made me never want to go back. I mean, or go back way less frequently.
Interesting. That's interesting. One of my great sort of fascinations is, what is this going to do? What are the long-term consequences of this all going to be?
Yeah.
And I think things like career changes and relationship changes, I think those sorts of things are going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I used to take my podcasting equipment with me everywhere I go, and I would do podcasts, and I'm like, I'm just doing them from home from now on. Why?
Wow.
Why go? Why do this? I mean, there is something about being with somebody and bonding with them. And a lot of my guests I've gone, on trips with, or we've gone skiing or snowboard, whatever we do, and we have a good time. And then we establish a relationship, which makes the show sound better. But, I lose that time with my kids. And, they're only little for a short time.
Yep.
So I don't know. I just had an opportunity to write on a TV show, and I'm like, maybe I'll take some time off touring and do that. And,
that's cool.
And I love being home. My wife doesn't love it.
Well, I was going to say that's one of the things that's interesting is happening is that all the being around everybody all the time is creating new dynamics. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
So what about you? What is your situation? How much are you shut down being a doctor?
I'm trying to keep all my patients away from the office, and I'm just going in very little. I'm going to sign up for that health core thing. The state of California has asked doctors to sign up if they're not working in hospitals right at the moment to be allocated wherever they need. When I announced I was going to do that, my wife and children, manager, everybody freaked out. I said, all right, I won't activate it until there's actual need. When there's need, I'm going in. In. Yeah. You got to understand that I have an obligation. It's part of what I do, and so they're like, you're a risk category. You're going to end up in a ventilator. So I think there may be a ventilator in my future.
Why are you in that? Oh, because don't you have an autoimmune?
I'm 60. Oh, 61.
Are you really?
61. Yes.
I don't look a day over
Crazy.
60.
I think it's more than I've looked at since I was 30. I think is what you're thinking.
Is 60s at risk? I thought it was 70.
It's 65. There's some populations say 60, and of course I have prostate cancer and hypertension, all this other crack garbage that adds to my risk theoretically.
But you're a pretty fit person. I mean, you're a freak.
But it's not. It turns out it's much more about what's going on the proteins on the surface of the lung, and there's just changes that occur as you age, no matter what. And that's what increases the probability of the virus getting in.
Is that that's the protein that does that have a number on it or something?
Days 2 protein,
that takes it in. Okay. See, I thought it was like, you're hearing about people that have, any kind of heart problems, or like my mom's got pulmonary fibrosis. Yeah, I know. We're so scared. She's 84 years old. She's on lockdown. And just couldn't be a worse candidate. And then my dad had his first heart attack just this year. So the two of them together.
Sorry.
Yeah. The smallest heart attack you could have. But still, that's what I thought it was. It was basically your lungs fibrosis. And so your heart's got to work harder. And if you don't have a strong heart, it's not going to be able to keep the breathing going.
In her case, you're talking about?
In anyone's case. And so...
It's a little more complicated than that, but it's the ability, the air sacs fill with fluid,
right?
And if you also have when you have fibrosis, you have increasing lung rigidity. The stiffness of the lung is worse, so you can't ventilate it as well. So it makes for challenges.
Is that what this does? It does make your like the sacs more rigid?
No, it specifically doesn't do that, which is very unusual for viral pneumonia. It doesn't cause the elasticity problem in the lungs. It causes just the air sacs to fill with fluid, something called ARDS.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was, what is it, the Dunning-Kruger effect, that people, think they're experts in everything. I do this all the time. Anytime 9/11, I knew everything about Islam that I could find everywhere. Like on 9/12, I was an expert on Wahhabism.
That's really funny. I love Dunning-Kruger. I see it everywhere. Oh, it's everywhere now.
It's amazing.
The internet has made Dunning-Kruger just a routine problem.
I did my show just in Australia. I did a month-long show, and I called it Dr. Google, about how, I read the internet and start thinking I know more than doctors.
And then, my peers have begun putting a sign in their office frame that says, "Please don't confuse your Google search with my medical training."
Well, but it seems like even the experts right now, one day they'll say something and the next day they'll say something else. And so,
right, because we're gaining experience with this thing, because it's a new syndrome. COVID-19 is a new disease, and we're learning about it as we go here. And so there's going to be lots of different opinions, lots and lots.
Okay, so you in the beginning were very much thinking this was the media is out of control, which I think they still are. I mean,
they still are, and I still contend that. And I think I understated the risk of this thing because I was so angry with the panic that they were inducing. But I kept saying the same thing, though, which was, don't listen to the press, listen to Dr. Fauci.
Right.
I've worked around Dr. Fauci since the AIDS epidemic. Let him be your North Star. Just do what he tells you. He knows how to keep you safe. Just follow that direction.
How is he?
Still say that.
How is he staying safe? I mean,
he's 79.
I know, that's what scares me. And he's probably around people all day long, and I'm sure they're keeping their distances, but
I think they must have quarantined off that White House group.
Okay,
you know what I mean? That group must be quarantined from the world. I think Bricks and the Army Corps of Engineer guy and the vice president. I think they must be kind of walled off from everybody.
Yeah, because it seems to me, you see these people like Trudeau's wife or. The
Boris Johnson.
Yeah. So those people are constantly at meetings and with different people constantly. So they're just spreading it. I feel I'm paranoid here at home. We get packages from Amazon. My wife's like, "There's a package out there." I'm like, "Let it sit."
You sit it for 2 days. I'll bring them sometimes. Open it, wash my hands, take things out, wash my hands, and then open whatever's in there.
Yeah,
and then wash my hands again.
Hey guys, I know you want to listen to Dr. Drew, but I want to help you with something else. I want to help you get your nutrition together. I'm a big fan of MacroStacks. MacroStacks is a company. They actually have an app you get a subscription, you're going to get free nutrition coaching. How good's that? And they've got recipes on there that you're going to be able to do your meal preps. They've got all kinds of sizes. If you want to make for one person, you want to make for 4 people, you want to make for a whole giant family. Check out MacroStacks. what I used them for was I was having trouble not getting. I had hit a wall and couldn't figure out what was going on. So I started using MacroStacks, logging all of my macros, my protein, my carbs, my fat. And I always thought, I can eat as much fat as I want, as much protein as I want. Don't worry about my carbs. And I found out I needed more carbs, I needed less fat, and I needed more protein. And I was completely wrong about how I was eating. It changed everything for me. And I think you guys will find out that if you get a free consult with the coach there, you get access to hundreds of recipes. And MacroStacks, when you're using it and you're tracking all your macros, you are going to stay on track. Okay? There's like proof. Research has shown that people that track their diets are so much more successful. And they have a really supportive community in there, so check out their site. Their coaches are, right now, it's a really important time. A lot of you are stuck at home. This is time to get your nutrition together. They're offering free virtual consults, okay? If you need help navigating, like what to eat, what to cook, how to do it, sign up today, meet your virtual coach, and you got to check out MacroStack. It's a web app. I don't know if you know the difference between a web app. You're not going to go to the App Store and get it. You're going to go to their website, and you're going to hold it on your phone, and then it saves, and then it becomes just like an app on your phone. Very easy to do. Simple. In fact, I'd say it's probably easier than downloading an app. So, of all the ones I've seen, MacroStacks is the best all-in-one app for counting your macros. And you're going to get a custom macro plan. It's going to tell you, it's going to have recipes that fit your exact macros. How good's that? You're going to know what to cook. And it's scientifically proven. Okay? So if you don't like the recipes, that's fine too. MacroStacks has a database of over 800,000 foods that you can track. You're going to know all the nutritional values of all the foods that you're eating. You can scan the barcodes. You can type it in. There's tons and they have everything. And if they don't have it, they'll have it once you put it in there, once you take a photo. Go to macrostacks.com to learn more. That's MacroStacks, MacroStax.com to learn more. And they're going to give you a discount. 25% off your MacroStacks subscription. Visit macrostacks.com. Enter the code WODCAST. All right? And like I said, it's a web app, so it's not downloadable. The app's not in the App Store, but it functions exactly the same as a native app. Go do it. Get it on your phone. Follow it. And I think you'll start finding you're going to be breaking through all those barriers like I did and just becoming the most elite mofo in the world. MacroStacks. Oh, it's time to talk about my new favorite thing in the world. Clova. 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 That's I feel like that should be their jingle. Clova. Okay, we all know one of the most important aspects of making progress in the gym, rest and recovery. I didn't know it for years. Was hitting all kinds of walls. Nothing was happening. Sick all the time. Hurt all the time. Couldn't do anything. Friends were paddling around me, surfing. Then I figured out, what's wrong here? Not sleeping enough. I used to sleep like 2 to 3 hours a night. I thought I was like, I can just go. I don't need sleep. No, you need tons of sleep. And being a comedian, you kind of turn into an insomniac. So I got to get to sleep. I have to get to sleep, especially for when my little baby wakes up at 5:30 in the morning and makes me start my day. So I got to force myself to sleep at night. And nobody thinks about sleep until it's too late. You don't think about sleep till you're like, I'm not getting enough sleep. Well, Clova has set out to improve sleep quality. They created, a few years ago, this thing called the Sleep Z patch, which is now the number one selling, and we're all about elite here. They're the number one selling sleep patch online on Amazon and at Walgreens with over 1,000 5-star reviews. You know anything that has a 5-star review? Yeah, this podcast does. Well, they have 1,000 5-star reviews. All you do is you're going to put one little patch on your arm. just like people do with nicotine patches, about 2 hours before bed. And the time-release blend of naturally occurring ingredients go to work, and they promote a restful night of sleep. So Clova it's ideal for people that are having trouble sleeping and people that have trouble staying asleep, okay? It's got a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can try Clova absolutely hassle-free. You're going to save 20% on your first order today using the claim code WADPOD20. That's WADPOD20. Go to Clova. Clova. Do you know how to spell Clova? Well, I'll tell you how to spell it. Klova. Klova. Who were we? Were Clova. Go Clova. Klova. Oh, my wife just wants to punch me in the face right now. Clova. Clova.com. Use the code WADPOD20. You're going to save 20% off, and you're going to sleep like a baby. I've been talking a lot with Dr. Drew about, my supplements and what I take and what I should take and what's going on with the coronavirus going around. And, seeing that I travel as much as I do, well, not lately, but I travel a lot, and being in and out of airports, airplanes, bathrooms, restaurants, I don't want to get sick ever. And not just the coronavirus, but other viruses too. Colds, rhinovirus, norovirus, the flu, influenza. I don't want any of this crap. So, I've already do a lot to boost my immune system. And I, sleep a lot and just take care of myself so that I don't get sick. I don't overtrain anymore. But the one solution that can be not talked about a lot is probiotics. But the problem with most probiotics is that they use big numbers, okay? So, they use, billions of colony-forming units to change your gut microbiome. But research has been showing that it doesn't support this for all strains. So, in fact, studies show that many probiotics go through your system and don't do very much. I've experimented with tons and tons of different probiotics. And finally, I've discovered the secret weapon. It's a probiotic called P3OM. That's P3OM. It uses just one proven probiotic strain that's so effective it's been patented. Okay? Doesn't have all those it's just one. What it does better than any other strain is it fights the bad guy, the bugs like parasites, viruses, pathogens, fights them, okay? And beating the bad bacteria is the biggest reason you want to take a probiotic in the first place. P3OM is so awesome at fighting bad bacteria and upgrading your digestion that you can actually see it break down food online when you go to buyoptimizers.com/WAD, okay? And you'll see they put it on and it breaks down a piece of steak in a Petri dish, literally. Buyoptimizers.com/WAD and watch it dissolve a piece of raw steak. It's pretty incredible. Here's the deal. The guys who make it, it's a company called Buyoptimizers. They're so confident that you're going to like it, they'll give you all your money back. Okay? So you have nothing to lose. They've got a whole line of high-end products to fix digestive issues. So you're going to have the option to get the same deal on all the products on their site. Not just the probiotic. Go to p3om.com. That's p3om.com/WAD. WOD. Use the code WAD10. They're going to give you 10% off. Okay, so that's p3om.com/WAD. Use the code WAD10, and they're going to give you 10% off. And if you've never used a high-end probiotic that can push out bad guys, if you're having problems with your gut, you don't feel good after a trip, you just have... you just did antibiotics. People always do probiotics after antibiotics. Whatever. Give this stuff a try. I promise you're going to like it. Go to buyoptimizers.com/WAD. So what's your prediction now? What do you think?
I think the prediction of the 100,000 deaths is not a stretch. I mean, if you think that we had somewhere around 30,000 deaths from the flu, and this is considerably worse than the flu, it should be up there in those kinds of numbers, right? How many infected? Again, we had 24 million with the flu. It's not going to be those kinds of numbers, but it's probably going to be a couple million. And here's what we don't know: is therapeutics going to change the course of these illnesses, prevent the need for hospitalizations and ventilators, and reduce infectivity? And we really don't even know fully the magnitude of the effect of us all staying home. There's a guy named Murray out of University of Washington that's putting some models together that look pretty sane to me. One of the things I was really angry about was that Imperial College of London prediction.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. It was on the front page of the New York Times every day. They should be ashamed of themselves for that. That was so clearly
Aren't they saying now that was worst case scenario that they were going for?
Look at what they wrote. This is what's going to happen. We're going here. It's like, and of course, worst case scenario. Anybody can paint a worst case scenario. That's not helpful.
Right.
It's not helpful. But give us a model that gives us some realistic goals. And I was talking to this guy yesterday, Dr. Murray, and he was saying that if the infectivity is affected by, say, hydroxychloroquine, and the length of hospitalizations or need for hospitalizations are reduced, it's possible this thing could come down to the sort of level of seriousness of the flu. So if that happens, then we're going to see a significant reduction in the case fatality and hospitalization rate.
We
don't know where we are yet.
What are the side effects? Because I remember when I went I talked to you right before I went to India, and they wanted me to take the malaria vaccine or the pills before I went, and you were the one that talked me into I got typhoid fever, yellow fever. I got all the vaccinations for that, but I didn't want to take malaria, and you said by the time you get back, you'll have the malaria, and America you'll be able to be taken care of here rather than be stuck in India with it, because I was only going for like 2 weeks or 10 days or something.
Right.
But is that what I would have been treated with? Is the hydroxychloroquine?
Something like that. I mean, I've used hydroxychloroquine for years and years and years, and literally decades. And we ended up mostly using it not so much for malaria anymore, but for rheumatoid arthritis, dermatomyositis, lupus, that kind of thing. And people would be on it for years, and they never have any problem with it. It's very well tolerated.
So this is the media attacking. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, but again, I think he's taken out of context a lot, and they just won't give him. The narrative goes one way.
All he said was that there's encouraging news on hydroxychloroquine, and there is. I've been talking to Dr. Oz about it, and he's been talking to the French researchers who have hundreds and hundreds of cases on they've studied where it's had remarkably good results.
But it takes a long time to get a study going where you can show data, right? So
they'll be done. Everybody's up and running at full sprint. So there's going to be preliminary data by the end of this week, I'm sure.
Oh, that's great. And there's other what was I reading about?
By the way, the FDA just approved it for you, so that they have to have data to be able to do that. So,
and there's some kind of plasma therapy that I saw Dr. Oz talking about.
Right, where the convalescent plasma, where that to me, I don't think we're going to see much of that because that's expensive and time consuming. And
what is that? Is that they take your plasma out and put it back in with
you give it to somebody else?
Yeah,
give it a convalescent plasma. Somebody who's over the illness. I don't know. I in bad cases, okay, but I don't see that as a widespread thing. I will tell you, a lot of doctors are now taking hydroxychloroquine as a prophylaxis to prevent. So I know that's going on a lot right now. So there is real enthusiasm for that medication.
Is there any truth to the blood type thing, where if you're A or nothing?
No, doesn't seem to be. I've seen no real legitimate on that research.
And do you think by next year, when we go to get our flu shot's going to have this added in?
I hope so. That's a little premature. I mean, it's a little optimistic, but I sure hope so. I heard some data that said they might have a vaccine for healthcare workers by this coming fall. So if that's true, then yes, we will have it by the following fall.
I've always wanted to talk flu shot with you, always, because right. I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any means.
Are you ready to take the flu shot every year? That should be the one thing that people get from this experience.
Every time I talk to a doctor, I believe I should take a flu shot. I love Chris Kresser, and I think Chris Kresser's great. But he's, very into like herbal medicine and being like a naturopath. But he's an acupuncturist. So, do I trust a doctor? Do I trust an acupuncturist? I'm gonna opt for the doctor. But he's a really smart guy, and he reads a lot of studies. He talked about the Cochrane. I think it's Cochrane
analysis. That's a meta-analysis. Yeah.
And the meta-analysis that said something like, in order to get the flu shot to work, you have to, like the herd immunity. You've got to get 77 people immunized so that one person won't get it. Like, that's the whole concept of like getting many, many people to get it so that it won't spread. But he said that you have I read the study, and tell me if I'm wrong because I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But it said something like you have a basically 2 in 100 chance of getting the flu. If you get the immunization, you have a 1 in 100 chance. So your chances are going down 50%, but really it's a 1% change from 2% to 1%.
Well, we had 24 million cases this year. Is that 1% of the country? That's about right. Yeah, 1%.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a lot of people. So we're talking about we're talking about a reduction of 24 million and a reduction of 30,000 deaths. I don't know. We're fighting our ass off for 100,000 deaths here, right?
Right.
We're killing ourselves. We're ruining people's lives to try to bring this thing down to 100,000 deaths.
Right.
And yet, just giving yourself a shot's not worth 30,000 deaths.
Okay. So what about the possible side effects of a flu shot?
Such as?
I'm asking you. Is there any?
I've only I've given conservatively 10,000 flu shots in my career. I have seen one side effect. Well, I beg your pardon. I've seen a couple of people, of course, get a sore arm. Some people, that sore arm becomes a little more problematic, and they have to take an antibiotic for a couple of days. I've seen that a million times, but that's of no consequence, doesn't harm anybody. But I did see one full-blown adverse reaction to the flu vaccine, and it was in a patient named Michael Catherwood. and his head blew up to the size of a pumpkin. He had a full allergic reaction to the thing. And so it was the most unpleasant experience I've ever had.
Meanwhile, that could have been 20 other things.
Right. But it was Mike Catherwood. When you ask him sometime about that reaction, it was uncanny.
That's hilarious.
So he is allergic to egg albumin, and it was something in the vaccine, and that was that. So
but the vaccine's what? Explain what it's like an unfinished virus, or like it's a piece of protein. It's just a piece of protein that the immune system can attack and recognize when the virus with that protein attacks your body. So it comes in. It. Wait, I'm a little confused. So the protein comes in through the vaccine. You've got it then in your body and your immune system builds an army in response to that and holds that army in reserve as something that could attack it. Okay. And so if the flu should attack it, it will be ready to go with their army of antibodies. Okay. And cells. That was another question I had about this. So again, I'm an idiot. I have to always preface that. Stop it. Your body fights. It's basically like you're having an immune response to this virus, and when you actually get the flu. When you get the flu, or when you get COVID, you have an immune response, and your body's getting taken over by the virus at the same time. So, if you had a really good immune system, isn't it going to overreact too much? What does that mean? Well, okay, so obviously everybody wants to have the best immune system coming into a virus. But immune system, the development of our immunological system and our brain are deeply related. So if you understand I think people intuitively understand how complex the brain is. Mm-hmm. Your immune system is just as complicated, maybe more so. So to talk in terms of a strong immune system almost doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. It's almost nonsensical kind of words. But you're saying if there's an overexuberance in the response to a particular pathogen, can that cause trouble? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. Not in the case of... I guess you can get autoimmune syndromes, right? Mm-hmm. You can get. We don't really know how those are triggered, but they aren't typically triggered after an illness. You want as strong an immune response as possible to fight off the infecting agent. Mm. You understand how viruses work, right? Yes. The viruses are not alive, technically, and people debate that. But they're a packet of protein surrounding a nucleic acid that has a particular way of binding at some cell receptor in some part of our body. In the case of coronavirus, it's in our lungs. It's brought into the cells. It finds its way into the nucleus of the cells.
inserts itself. Well, it has to replicate itself in this case with coronavirus because it's an RNA virus. It has to turn itself into a DNA, insert that DNA into our cell, and then start producing itself a bunch more RNA particles and a bunch more protein particles. So it can reassemble itself, take over our cells, create billions of particles, and go back out into our body and infect all of our other cells.
Okay.
And that's a viral illness. If your immune system is able to fight it off from getting in and either entering or fully, developing its replication cycles, you're not going to get very sick, if at all.
Interesting.
And that's what you want.
So, yeah, even Dr. I hear a lot of people say vitamin C. There's not a lot of evidence that it does work. But
there isn't. I take it just in case. I mean, it couldn't hurt. I've noticed not in a lot of the multivitamins, so you might as well supplement that.
I take it like...
I grew up with Linus Pauling's grandchildren. So I was around Linus Pauling in the 70s. When he was coming up with the vitamin C theory. And trust me, it was in the twilight of his career. But, very super smart guy, and maybe we'll find something someday.
But I just can't believe that there's not more clinical evidence showing like how they're not able. I guess it's because the studies would be too hard to control with so many people having so many different things with their bodies.
Yeah, it's pretty clear it's not a big deal. Put it in vitamin C.
Yeah, I take it liposomally. I've fallen for that, hoping that even gets it in better.
Fine. I don't think it'll hurt.
What about zinc?
Zinc, again, is another one of these. Zinc, actually, there is some objective data with colds. And so there might be something about enhanced immune efficiency. I take it occasionally. I'm worried about taking too much. We don't know what that really is either. Mm-hmm. So
I take it at the start of a cold, and I just take the zinc lozenges. What about elderberry?
I see no real evidence on that.
Really?
It comes up all the time, and I just see zero that really... I mean, are you kidding? You think this thing will be spreading like this if something simple like that made a difference? Talk to Michael Yo, who just came off a ventilator.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to Machete, who is my engineer on this show, and he does Michael Yo's show, and he said, "Did you know Michael Yo got..." And I said, "I didn't know." And he said, "Yeah, he got it really bad," and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. What's the best conspiracy theory you've heard?
I keep hearing conspiracy theories about biowarfare, but on both sides, either it's us or it's them or who knows. Everyone I know that's a good virologist says this is not the kind of virus that, I don't understand quite why, but it's not the kind of virus that could be produced in a laboratory.
Well, I heard the guy from the University of Minnesota that was on Rogan's show said that it was started from a pangolin. So I went down that wormhole and found out that it was only like 92%. The DNA only matched like 92% of the pangolin, but it was 96% of the bat.
Right. And that bat coronavirus they've been following for a long time. That particular one.
I was saying the other day, I'm like, when this thing's over, I want to eat a bat so badly. Because it's got to be so good for a guy to risk a pandemic. Think about it.
I hope they take away those meat markets, those crazy markets, all the wild animals. Really, why do we have that?
Have you been to China?
No.
Okay.
Well, I've been to Hong Kong, but
so I've been all through China, and the whole time I was there, I was walking down the streets going, I can't believe they eat this stuff. Like, I'd look in the windows and go, never. I eat pretty healthy. I was eating McDonald's in China because I was scared of everything else.
Like what kind of stuff?
There was stuff that I was over there filming a movie, and there was like the street carts where they were selling stuff. There was one street cart that I walked by that it looked like it was selling Swedish meatballs in like a gray water.
Ugh.
And the smell that was coming out of it, I've never smelled that. You know when you hit a smell that you're like, that's a distinct smell. And when it hit me, I started dry heaving. And I was like, that's the worst smell I've ever smelled in my life. And I was dry heaving. And so we had a whole bunch of guys working on the film, and I offered $100 to anybody that would eat it. And so they all went over, and like all these guys were trying to eat it. And every one of them was like, couldn't keep it down. And,
wow. They threw up?
Yeah, they were like like gagging it out, and not even being able to swallow it.
What was it?
I forget what it was, but that's some kind of duck meat or somebody will write in. I think it was some kind of pork or something. But just And, you go in and they'll have something in a window and they'll be like, hey, it's half panda bear, half I don't know.
Pangolin.
Yeah, like a pangolin. They eat that. It's one of the most smuggled meats in the world. And
pangolin?
Pangolin, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And, they say the wealthier people are who eats these very exotic animals. And
what do they think they're doing?
The more eccentric it is, the more difficult it is to get, the more expensive it is. And it's a cultural thing to eat these.
Oh, God.
But I don't know. I've seen bat. I've never craved bat before in my whole life.
Cool. Let's put that on the back burner for a minute.
Okay, but how easy would it be?
Bad cravings.
How easy would it be to create a virus? Like in biowarfare. I mean, I don't believe the conspiracy theories. My friend said something funny the other day. He goes, America can't even organize the Uber pickup at the airport.
Right.
Like, how are we gonna?
Forget creating biowarfare. How do we maintain a conspiracy secrecy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, you and I couldn't hold it together. You know what I mean? How could 1,000 people magically not tell anybody?
But wouldn't it be easy to create a virus? Or to take a virus and put it in someone? Yeah.
But whether you could create a biowarfare thing, I don't know about that. I don't know anything about it. I think there's all kinds of issues in that in terms of distribution. And, if you're trying to make a weapon, it's got to be, you got to be able to deliver it, and then it has to distribute, as well as be highly dangerous.
Because if you infected one person with this virus, it's not going to multiply from 1 on to 20 million or 30 million or whatever.
Well, I mean, ultimately that's how it happens, right? It goes from an animal to a person, and then it gets a foothold.
But see, I figured it probably went from an animal to multiple people because.
Is it really different? 3 people, 4 people than one person?
Okay.
Is it highly contagious?
In saying that, when we start to calm this down, if there are still people with it, won't it continue to go? Like, that's how I always feel about Ebola. Like, so they've started to contain Ebola. Yeah, but there's still people out there that have it.
Yeah.
So how is it not?
Eradicating viruses are really difficult. I think what you have to do is use technology like South Korea did. They essentially tested everybody, and we're going to have some way of identifying whether you're immune, whether you've never been exposed, whether you have it. And then there needs to be technologies that track those people and then warn us if somebody's not immune when they're coming around somebody like that.
That I saw what the South Koreans did, and I was thinking, we have a sponsor of this show called Everlywell that does home testing for all kinds of different things you can have wrong with you. And it's just a blood test. You do the finger prick and send it in. They developed a COVID test. And it was all over the news. They developed it. Was $139. You could buy it. Comes to your house. You take it. Well, now they've just have it for healthcare professionals. But when I saw that, I guess the government went to them and they said, we'll help out, and we just want to get it for healthcare professionals. When I saw it, I was like, why are we spending $2 trillion on a bailout when we could have just bought this test for?
Well, it's an antibody. That's again. The testing isn't a complete solution, right? So there's 2 kinds of tests. There's diagnostic testing, who has the virus, and then there's serology testing, antibodies, who has had the virus.
Right.
2 different things. Thus far, we've been just trying to keep up on the diagnostic testing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many cases that we need to know who's got this thing, that we need to have access to enough diagnostic tests. Now, as those have come online, we're going to be able to expand that out to not just highly likely cases. And remember, even in the very highly likely cases, if somebody absolutely looks like COVID and you test them, it's only a 1 in 10 time that it's positive. Only 10% of the tests are positive.
Wow.
You aware of that?
Yeah.
But
what is the accuracy? Because I had a friend just take a test and they said, it's only 70% accurate. And he's like, I have every symptom you could have. And they're like, yeah, you're negative.
Yeah, it depends what you mean by accuracy. Accuracy is often determined by the probability that the person is going to have the problem. That's why they're limiting it to certain highly suspicious cases, because then the accuracy is much higher.
Okay.
And the false negative rates versus the false positive rates, there's not going to be a lot of false negatives in this group that we're using right now. So it's a fairly accurate situation. But the question is appropriate. Why aren't we doing more antibody testing? Right, which is what your Everwell does, and I am in favor of widespread antibody testing, because we may find out that a lot of people are already immune.
Yeah,
and we need to know that. And by the way, wouldn't you want to know if you're immune?
I'd love to know.
Yeah, you can move around the cabin.
Yeah.
I mean, I very much want to use those tests. So I think we're going to start hearing about that soon. How
long would it last if you had the antibodies? How long is it going to keep you immune from it?
At least, certainly a year.
Really?
Certainly a year. Yeah.
Is that the same with the flu?
The flu. See, here's the thing. Hang on one second.
Okay.
The coronavirus doesn't change very much, and maybe doesn't change at all.
Right.
So your immunity to that virus may be sustained for a long period of time. Right.
Right.
The flu drifts.
Mutates, yeah.
The flu year to year drifts into other, where that's its ecological niche. Its ecological niche is I trick you every year so I can keep surviving in humans. The coronavirus niche is I create so much goddamn virus that as soon as I get in you, I can get to a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm. So it's highly infectious, I was looking at the X and Y axis thing, and where it lands compared to something like measles or Ebola.
Yeah. Well, look at the stuff coming out of University of Washington. Professor Murray's putting out yesterday. That is realistic data. That's good estimates of where we're going here, and it's not nowhere near that Imperial College of London stuff. And I was talking to him, as I think I mentioned to you, and he's going to adjust every day. We could do even much better even than his models, but his models are, given what is known today, predicting forward.
Because haven't we surpassed the projections that they really thought in the United States?
It depends whose projection you're looking at.
Yeah.
Not the Imperial College of London. That was insane. There was the CDC has been pretty spot on all the way through. I mean, just listen to Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci, and we'll be fine.
What about Gavin Newsom? His predictions came off what? Off the Imperial College?
Well, but to be fair, his job. I'm actually a fan of what Newsom has done. His job was to prepare for the worst case scenario. That's his job.
Yep.
Not to predict the worst case scenario, to prepare for the worst case scenario. And so he was using those numbers as why he needed the Navy ship brought in case that should happen. Good. That's what he should do. He did at his news conferences. He didn't say anything about, this is definitely what's going to happen. He said, look, I was just painting a picture, trying to get resources. That's what we want. The other thing no one ever talks about, and I've been just kind of spouting off about, is I know the U.S. healthcare system. I've been in it for decades. I know my peers. I know hospitals. I know how they flex. All the measurements of the U.S. healthcare system and where it ranks relative to other countries, none of them take into account something like this. Nobody does this better than us. We can flex. We get it done. We innovate. We figure shit out. And trust me, the one thing that I'm predicting is going to happen is the fatality rates are going to flatten, the hospitalization rates are going to flatten more than we expect because of the incredible responsiveness of our healthcare system. Yeah,
and not just that. I'm amazed at the innovation of all the companies and everybody coming together and saying. And I thought I knew that would happen. When the president hadn't invoked the Defense Production Act or whatever it is, I was like, when this started happening, I was like, we did this during war. Why is there any argument about this at all? Like, just go out and make more masks. It's a mask. We're not making bombs. It's got to be easier to make a mask than it is a bomb. So, I have a friend that went from making nuclear power plant protective gear to hospital protective gear overnight. He just cranked up his operation, and he feels so good about it. He loves being a part of the solution. Well, I talked to some friends that are doctors, and they'll be in hospitals where they're kind of overrun with it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're worried about our ventilators," and then I'll talk to other doctors, and they're like, "We got nothing here. Nothing's going on."
Yeah, nothing going on in most of the country. I mean, New York, it's a problem, right? Yeah. Detroit, they got some stuff going on.
Yeah,
and but they're getting it done. The point is, it's not like it's not going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle in a lot of places. but we will get it done. We will get it done.
All right. I promised our listeners that I would take their questions, even though I only really care about my own.
I know that.
Resonator 1 wanted to know, could the virus be airborne?
It is airborne, and one of my grave concerns.
Do they use that? Is that aerosol, or what do they say?
Yeah, the aerosol. So here's the deal. So we know an awful lot about the survival of the virus in aerosols, which is in mist after you sneeze or cough. It stays for about 2 hours out in a mist. And the reality is that surfaces also, we know a lot about surfaces like wood and metal and plastic. It lasts 48 hours, or in one cruise ship it lasted 17 days. The reality is very little of this is transmitted by surfaces. Okay. It really is requiring person-to-person contact. And it's our hands that are the primary means of transmission. Keep your hands away from your face. In addition to the hands, though, I'm concerned that aerosol is a major contributor in one way, and that is in an elevator. I'm convinced that elevators are the reason that New York got so out of control.
I don't ride them. I've got that elevator fear.
That's right. Look at you.
More reason.
You're ahead of the curve.
Finally, it pays off.
Yeah. So I think about it. You cough, build an aerosol, walk out, door shut. That just holds the aerosol till at least the next person walks in, or you're riding in the elevator with someone who's coughing or sneezing. I can't imagine a worse environment for transmission.
Because the airplane has a HEPA filter in it, right? That kind of cleans the air.
But somebody could be right next to you. But to be fair, it's not nearly what an elevator is. Not nearly. Elevators really. I think when we study this, that was a major gaffe, in my opinion, that they didn't think about that. They should have thought about elevators at the very beginning of this thing.
Yeah, that was that gives me more reason to never ride in one. Now I don't need to pay all that money to go see a psychiatrist to fix it. This is something I wondered about too. Wood Butcher Magoo wants to know, could you foresee people who have caught this virus with having an impact on their longer-term health? Are there going to be long-term?
Yeah. It's not happening very much that way, but I have a friend that had a little complication. He has a little nerve problem from probably this virus. He had a highly suspicious case, and then had a lung problem and a sort of a chronic now breathing problem from it. If you have ARDS, your lungs can scar from that. The people though that are really going to have so-called long-term problems are the very elderly, where any prolonged ICU hospitalizations can affect your brain function, your lung function. There are cardiovascular complications. I mean, a lot of the sudden deaths of this thing and the crashing is from the inflammatory cascade that affects the vascular system so severely.
And if they're what's it called, when they have a breathing tube in for a while, that just makes it.
Yeah, that's never good to have a long, again, but the tube is not so much the problem, it's the ARDS. The fluid, the air sacs filled with fluid can really cause some chronic scarring and problems.
Okay. This Jitsu Graham, how long does he recommend doing social distancing? Till we flatten the curve,
I'm going to say follow your we're probably going to have to do it for the rest of the summer. I mean, not isolation, but be very careful. And follow CDC. That's just my constant chant. Follow the CDC recommendations. They're set up to figure out what's optimum for us. They will tell us what to do. We will do it. I don't believe most of us will be stuck inside in a month. I think we'll be doing stuff in about end of April.
And what do you do about your groceries? They wanted to know. I
haven't sent in. They come by Instacart, and then ask them to please leave them outside. I bring them in. I put them on the floor. I wash my hands. I get everything out individually and wash my hands between each thing, the package that I open up, because somebody put the packages in the bag. And then I throw it all out.
Our next pandemic is going to be everybody has alligator hands from their skin.
Yeah, I know. I've got bad.
It was
bad
cracking
problems
in between my fingers.
I'm washing my hands so much.
I flew back from Australia on the 9th, and I was over there. It was so funny for the whole month, or I was there for 3 weeks, and I was giving everybody the elbow. I canceled all my meet and greets after my shows.
Yep, smart.
And people were getting mad at me. They're like, "I can't believe you're not coming out." And I was like, "Fuck off." I am not going to go shake hands with like 400 people. So I canceled that, and I basically was a recluse. I would just go to my hotel, and I would stay in my hotel, take the stairs up, stay in my hotel, and
Very smart.
And I kept calling my wife saying, "I think I'm coming home. I think I'm coming home." And she was like, "No, you need to stay there and finish
your tour."
And I was like, "No, I'm afraid that they're going to shut down the airports. I'm afraid." She's like, "Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen." And my dogs are.
And then when did California? What day did California down? Like the 14th or something?
Yeah, so I made it by like a week. And she, my wife, I love telling her I told you so. It's the greatest.
I was surprised. My daughter was in Hawaii and said the same thing, and she was like, I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, they're going to take they're going to say no groups bigger than 10. But they're not going to let you not fly. They're not going to not let you move around. And then they clamped it down. I was surprised. They were as aggressive as they were.
Plus, Hawaii's a pretty good place to be, I would think.
I know. I told her, I said, better to be there. Stay there. I want to be home. I want to go to New York, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so she's in New York?
Yep. That's where she wanted to be.
You have what? There's 3 kids?
Yep, triplets.
Yeah. And where are they? New York?
Boys are here.
Okay, that's nice. All right. So let's see. We've pretty much asked a lot of these. Masks. Somebody wants to know, is like using a bandana or scarf better than nothing?
Yes, and if nothing else, I have a feeling the reason the bandana or scarves work is it keeps your hands away from your face.
Yeah,
reminds you not to touch your face, and I think that's a major deal. I know that the CDC. I was reading what Dr. Fauci was saying today about masks, and I believe the CDC is going to begin recommending masks as soon as they're sure they have adequate protective gear for healthcare workers.
Well, so I think that's what also makes the public a little bit nervous about trusting everyone, because people are saying don't wear a mask, and the reason was we have to protect the healthcare workers, which is important, and I get why. Yep. But as an individual, when you're thinking survival of the fittest, survival of yourself, you're going, well,
I know.
And so they're not looking out for me; they're looking out for the greatest good for the greatest amount of people, and so. Fuck them. I'm going to the grocery store. I'm going to order. I'm getting my toilet paper.
That's fine. So all of you that thought you were utilitarians, turns out you're not. Turns out you're individualists. Okay. And I have no quarrel with that. I mean, I understand it. I was a little PO'd early on when there wasn't that much of the illness around and the healthcare providers really needed it. Now I don't mind people wearing the mask. I think it's okay. I mean, we're going to have adequate masks in days. So
is it true though that the mask, once you've worn it, it's pretty much no good anymore?
Well, my friend that manufactures this stuff says that, if you are directly exposed to someone, yes. I mean, if you're just trying to protect your genital exposure, he recommended spraying both sides with Lysol and hanging it up for 2 days.
Oh, good idea. I have them here because just not many, but I have some because we have the fires so often. And
really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the mountains above Malibu, so yeah. Twice a year I've got that mask on.
Oh yeah.
And
wow.
And so I have them for that reason, and I didn't have enough to be like, I'm going to go donate my masks. But this question was asked. Do you have a sense of this one? You don't have the data for that. Hold on, I got to turn off my baby monitor. 1 second.
All good.
Where is that monitor? I hear you. Why are you beeping? There you are. Baby's not here. I can turn the monitor off.
I'm looking at something that says Newsom is telling people not to wear the mask because he's worried that they will then stop social distancing. Are we that much of a nanny state that we can't even let people? Oh my God, that's crazy.
Well, I do worry about, I don't know. You should know the masses. When they said, "Hey, you can stay outside and keep a distance." I like to surf a lot. I drive down to the beach to go surfing, thinking totally safe place, and I've never seen more people in the lineup surfing, just like coughing on each other. I was like, I'm not going in there.
Really? That's not good.
So they finally had to say, no, you can't go there. I mean, it defeats the whole. People looked at it as like a loophole. They had to, close all the canyons and everybody going hiking because the whole idea was get away from people, and people were going to people. So, here's I got a bunch of questions on here, and then I will let you go because I know you are the busiest man in the. How much media are you doing now?
I'm doing more than I want to tell you the truth.
Well, thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. I'm doing a lot of stuff from home. My wife produces a little streaming show we do every day just to update people on coronavirus, what I'm seeing, and trying to help people interpret what they're reading and hearing and keep people calm down, because I'm gravely concerned about the panic. I really think that
I am too, because I said that to my wife. I said, I'm not afraid of this virus at all, other than my mother and father.
Yeah.
But I am afraid of the reaction of people.
Yes.
Like with gun sales going up, with people hoarding food, with people overreacting, with something that could start to flatten, even if like we're looking at long-term flat, like a couple months, 3 months, 4. The fact that you would panic to this extent over something that could last 4 months, even if it is that long, why are you panicking? It's not
it's what I was complaining about from the bit. It's why I wanted the press to shut up. They were just going for, and they continue to just pump the worst stories, the worst case scenario, playing on people's deepest fears at a time when that is harmful.
But you know,
time to stop that shit.
The funny thing is, Fox News, who's always guilty of that, is not the worst one right now. I know. I think CNN's the worst one at it, and I think it has a little bit to do with their agenda of like anti-Trump and. Look, I don't like Trump.
My beloved New York Times. I love New York Times. They were reprehensible in terms of how they've been reporting this. Really dangerous stuff.
And it's not the time to do that.
Exactly.
And I wish it would stop.
It's very simple. All they have to do is say, "Listen to Dr. Fauci. Here's what he's saying today. Here are the facts. Just here's what he's saying. Report it. Let people follow it. Forget the commentary. Don't stop pumping the models out there that are not going to happen. Stop showing refrigerator trucks with bodies in it. Why would you do that? What possible reason would you have for doing that to people? It's horrible."
I think it is it's opportunism. It's what's been going on in society in the last couple of years. Social media has done this. I saw it with Me Too, where it seemed like the Me Too movement, like it's a very relevant movement and a very good thing to do and to try to stop sexual harassment, sexual assault. But I saw a lot of people trying to benefit off of it. And they thought, this is my time to shine and this is my time to get notoriety. I kept saying, who's going to be the first comedian to get corona just to capitalize? We were talking about, we were like having a bet of which comedian would be the first comedian. Crazy. And like friends of mine were taking like online, and there were a bunch of people that I had. I'm like, it'll be this guy or it'll be this guy, and they're going to say they had it just so they can get the media exposure.
Wow.
Well, every single article I see written about this, even if it's saying that there is hope and that things are going to be good and that the curve's down, the title is written in a way to clickbait you in.
Yes. The headlines are written with horror in their midst.
And it's like my 5-year-old daughter is writing the headlines. Dad, you need to come here now.
Right, exactly. It really bothers me. It really bugs me. This is not the time for that.
Somebody wants to know what your best feathering tip is.
Do you know what that is? It's from your mom's house. It's Tom Segura and Christina P. They were fascinated with a guy named Fed Smoker, who was this meth addict who was putting up horrible videos all the time. And he was living in his car and wanted to show people how he was smoking something. And then he started feathering something. Because I'm just feather. He takes his lighter and lights his hair on fire. He's feathering his hair by lighting it on fire. And so that became sort of just a moniker for just hanging out, just feathering it.
How many? I know you're friends with obviously Mike Catherwood and get his pictures and videos all the time. But how many pictures of the big black guy with the giant schlong have you gotten?
A lot.
I counted today. I have 62 different ones.
Leanne Kreischer, Bert Kreischer's wife, was in getting on a plane and couldn't get reception or something, so she couldn't get it to open. It said something like, problem at the high school where the girls are. That was the open immediately, and she couldn't open it, so she sent it to a bunch of other moms at that high school. Like, please, I can't open this. I'm sorry. Take a look.
Oh, no.
What's going on?
Oh, no. Well,
yeah.
My daughter's 5, and she's now figured out how to get into my phone and get into my pictures and stuff, so I've had to go make a secret file because she was, like, scrolling through stuff, and I was like, no, give me the phone. That poor guy, though, I've read the whole article about him.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Tell me.
Yeah, so they found out who he is. He's a guy who used to live in San Francisco. He's dead. He's passed away since. He was he died at about 49 years old or something. He was a bouncer in San Francisco. He was in the sex scene, like hung out at the sex clubs. He was a guy that men would watch have sex with their wives. And he did one porn movie, and it wasn't even porn. It was like some kind of thing. He needed the money, and he was a former NFL football player. He played with the New Orleans Saints.
Oh my God!
For like a season, and
I cannot wait to talk to Mike Catherwood about
his
this.
Girlfriend. His girlfriend claims that's real. Like that's him. Yeah, that's
him.
really his. I've never seen one that big, but and I ran track in high school, and I was the only college. I was the only white kid on the team. I was also the only guy I was the only guy in the shower with a bathing suit on. But this poor guy, he went more viral than the virus did.
Yeah.
Like more people saw him. I was saying that there's going to be once this whole thing's over, all these corporations, human resources are going to be calling people in left and right, and they're like, "Okay, I know you've been working at home, but you are using a corporate phone, and there are these photos of this giant."
We got to clean that guy off. We got to clean the picture of you superimposed on the Tiger King.
Yeah, the Tiger King's another one, and now there's a new one, the Coronavirus Challenge, where women naked run at a phone, and jump into it with their vagina.
Oh my God!
I'll send it to you. It's very popular.
Oh my God! Is it like a TikTok or?
But it's I got one, and I was like, "Oh, this is hilarious," and then I got a compilation, and then I started getting them, and I went, "Oh, it's so weird what we do when we have time."
We're creative. We.
So here's a really good question from Jeremy Lesniak. He's been a guest on the show. He gets, when it comes to medical issues where most of us don't have the background and experience to know what's really going on, like me, how do we parse media reports for the truth? Like, where's the best place to go besides you said the CDC?
The CDC, that's it. Just listen to your best sources every day are Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx. If you miss something, go to the CDC. If you want to go deeper, they have reference material there. You can go into deeper literature if you want. I do a streaming show. We try to do it every day where I take everything that's going on. I try to make sense of it and calm everybody down. I try to put it in context of what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what's likely going on, where we're likely going, what to look for. Just kind of knowing where you are helps people a lot. Are you trying to figure out what's going on now?
Are you familiar with Dr. Peter Attia at all?
I am. He's very good usually, yeah.
Yeah, I like his Instagram. He's got all his guys that work with him looking into this and studying the studies. And so
I will follow that.
Yeah, he gives a really good he'll do just like Instagram lives, and he'll talk about it for a couple minutes, and he's kept me a little sane.
What is his I think
it's Peter Attia, Attia MD.
What? One
Instagram.
Word?
Yeah, at Peter Attia, Attia
MD. He's a surgeon that is very smart and is very good at parsing out literature. Yeah, he's a good scientist, which is nice, and that's what Dr. Fauci is too, and that's what you want these guys to be. So don't expect to hear drama because they're going to base everything they say on data. Facts, observable data, and hopefully, reproducible data too. So that's good.
Here's one last question from somebody asking very specifically, Good dude. A good fan of the show. He said he knows you're not a cardiologist, but people who've had valve replacements, do they need to take any special precautions?
Well, almost any medical problems put you in a risk category, especially if you are older. Like I said, I have prostate cancer. I'm 60. That puts me in the risk categories. The people that seem to be having the real cardiovascular problems are people that have not valvular disease, but cardiovascular disease, coronary disease, carotid disease, peripheral vascular disease. So the cholesterol deposition that everyone fights so hard to prevent, if there is an inflammatory element to that on the lining the lining of your arteries. See, the lining of your arteries have essentially an organ system called the endothelium, and that's what gets sort of broken down by the process of cholesterol deposition. I'm trying to say this as accurately as possible. But there's often an inflammatory piece to that, and this virus seems to create an inflammatory cascade that can really injure arteries, cause heart attacks, strokes, things like that.
So the ibuprofen Tylenol thing, it's all just...
I couldn't see... I'm not a fan of nonsteroidals anyway, particularly in situations like this, because they're rough on the kidney and they cause GI bleed. So I think people, if they're not alcoholics without liver disease, they should be taking Tylenol anyway.
How do you feel about curcumin? Or, I
have no problem with that. I have no problem with that.
Okay, one final question.
And by the way, that does seem to have some anti-inflammatory, but unlike elderberry or whatever, curcumin has some properties.
I take curcumin when I feel inflamed, when I have issues, joints.
I can't take it because it upsets my stomach.
I have read, because I don't like to put information out here, obviously, as the idiot I am, that people start doing something that I say. But I have read, when you're getting your curcumin, that some of them are high in lead, the way they're processed. So make sure you buy the best kind you can find. Do your research. And some of them are high in oxalates, which can give you kidney stones. So be really careful which ones you get. I wondered this myself. Are we causing more this is from Russ and Wendy Hartzell. Are we causing more problems down the road with mass sanitization of our houses and hands? Could we be inviting more diseases in the future?
Every time there's an intervention, there are untoward effects, right? I don't see that as being a major issue, unless, we walk around with bleeding hands and have a way for other bacteria to get in.
Right.
I don't see how keeping clean surfaces, provided it doesn't change our behavior. Newsom saying that wearing a mask is going to change our behavior. I don't believe people are like that. I think we have our behavior, and then we're also cleaning things down. Good. I don't see any downside to that.
Yeah, because I guess maybe it's just one of those, I don't know if it's an urban myth or it's true, that we, everybody goes, we need certain bacteria for our body to create an immunity.
Adam Carolla's running around still not showering, not using soap and not using masks and exposing himself all over the place. He goes by the sewer rat theory. So there is something to that.
Adam Carolla also used to stick his butt into has he ever told you about how he sticks they used to get in the hot tubs and shoot the water?
It wasn't him.
Oh, his buddy.
Ray used to fill up and then deliver. And then Adam drove him to a Jack-in-the-Box to share his talent. So that's a story that he and I have told on stage many, many times. So it's a good half-hour story from start to finish. Oh my! But I always go, Adam. He'd get out of there. He'd fill up. People it was a pool with a jacuzzi. They broke into a club, right? And so people's heads were at the cement level.
Yeah.
He would stand over people and unload straight down. He goes, yeah. The women sometimes didn't like it. And the first couple were a little chunky, but after that, it's like, oh my God.
He told that on my podcast, and I was in tears. And he was saying that when he would lie in the hot tub, the jet was at a perfect angle. It was like they measured from his kneecap down. Or from his knee pit down.
Feet up over the side. Oh God!
So the bacteria thing, like that sewer rat thing.
And by applying too much antimicrobial whatever. Bacteria adjust and they transfer plasmids and they learn how to fight that stuff off. I mean, I don't see surface cleaning as a major means of that happening. I may be wrong, but I don't think that's the way.
All right. Well, I can't thank you enough for doing this, and I'm sure all the fans will appreciate it very much.
My pleasure.
What is your show that you're doing daily, nightly?
It's just called A Dose of Dr. Drew. We just go to drdrew.com. We send out blasts for that. We also do a talk show. I'll have you on one of these.
I'd love to
have you bring you in. And I just follow the restreams on all the different platforms and answer questions. Or one day a week we'll do a call in as well. And just try to update people on what's going on and answer trying to exactly what you're talking about. It's so confusing out there for everybody. Trying to lessen the confusion, lessen the anxiety, and try to stay positive, because if we don't, we're all going to get mental illness issues as well.
Oh yeah, that was something. We could do another hour on that.
Yeah, I feel that as well as anybody, and I will tell you, exercise and sunlight are my two greatest responses right now, or preventative measures.
You just brought up another question I have to ask you. When they were talking about like the flu and all these things when they hit warmer climates, and they're not thinking that happens anymore, and it's seasonal because of that, more sunlight, the heat, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that it is that when people are out, when the weather's better in the sun, that they're getting higher vitamin D and it's keeping their immune system stronger?
Oh, it could be all of the above.
Okay.
It could be all of the above. And so, yes, back in the day, they used to treat influenza with rolling people out into the fresh air and sun.
Yeah, so I always read that you really shouldn't supplement things except for magnesium and vitamin D are the things that our bodies, if you're not getting sunlight, get your vitamin D. If you're a vegan, vitamin B. But so should people be getting out in the sun and trying to get, if they can't get in the sun, get that vitamin D?
I take a little extra D. Okay. I've been taking D. I take a little extra C. I take a little extra zinc. These are all reasonable things to do. I don't have a high expectation that I'm magically invincible by any means, but it's just a little hedge that has no real downside.
All right. Well, thank you, and I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you lots of pictures. You'll enjoy.
All right. It's great to talk to you.
Thanks for doing it.
I feel better spending time with people like you, so that makes me feel good by itself.
Thank you, and you really will help a lot of people out there. So thanks.
I hope so.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Talk soon. Thanks.
So there you have it, guys. Thanks for listening. That was Dr. Drew. It's as much as I can give you. Probably next week. Who knows what's going to happen? I've got a lot of interviews scheduled. Let's start talking some exercise, some what we can do at home, what you're doing to work out. Like I said, I'm trying to train and get ready to beat Hunter McIntyre at Murph. He sent me his workout plan. I can't even do one part of the 3 parts in the first day. If you want to see me live, you can't. You know what, though? I think you will be able to in a couple months. So look at my dates up in the future. There's still a whole bunch of them. Come see me live. And, when we can all get out and do things, I'm hopeful about this. I hope you are. Thanks to all the sponsors who help keep this show going, and thank you guys for going on iTunes, rate, reviewing, and commenting, and also thank you for going to the Patreon, which is patreon.com/wadcastpodcast or wadcastpodcast.com/Patreon. Go to those, help out the show. It's a free show, but if you donate, you might win something, and these are tough times, so help out the show. All right? And everybody stay safe, stay alone, stay sheltered, stay clean, I got to go find out why they're chopping a tree down in my backyard. Goodbye.